Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of my tutorial videos. Today's topic is cornered solution when the indifference curve is straight line and right angled. Now, in ordinary cases, we have seen that the solution takes place within the x and y axis. Those are called interior solution, where the consumer maximizes his satisfaction, that is, he derives optimum satisfaction by consuming two commodities, that is, by spending all his money income on two commodities. In those cases, the optimum point is reached at the point of tangency between IC and budget line. These type of solutions are called interior solution. Here you see the point of equilibrium, that is this point of tangency, takes place in between x and y axis. The equilibrium point never takes place either on x axis or on y axis. But in cornered solution, the equilibrium point is derived at the positive intercept of either x axis or y axis, and on which axis the equilibrium point will be arrived at depends upon the slope of the budget line. So in cornered solutions, we get equilibrium points either on positive intercept of x axis or on positive intercept of y axis, that is either here or here. Where actually the equilibrium point will lie depends upon the slope of the budget line. Now we shall discuss corner solution. I am erasing this diagram. Now consider this figure along with another diagram. Right? On x-axis we measure quantity of x, and on y-axis we measure quantity of y. Quantity of y. Suppose these are the indifference curves, straight line indifference curves. Now straight line indifference curve happens when the goods are perfectly substituted for one another. Only in perfectly substituted commodities the indifference curve is straight line. Now in this diagram, suppose this is the budget line. And here, this is the budget line. Say this is B, this is L, and here this is P, this is L. Right? First consider figure 1. These are three successively higher indifference curve. Say this is IC1, this is IC2, and this is IC3. The budget line or price line PL meets IC1 at point L it intersects IC2 at point say A, and it meets higher indifference curve IC3 at point P. With the same price line PS, the consumer can live in any indifference curves, but the consumer will not remain in IC1 because he can shift to higher indifference curve, that is from IC1 to IC2. Again with the same price line, the consumer can further move to higher indifference of IC3 and meet IC3 at point P. So A is not the point of equilibrium, A is not the point of equilibrium, but P is the point of equilibrium, because the highest possible indifference curve reachable by the budget line is IC3. Although it is not tangent, but it is reachable by the budget line PL, and IC3 is the highest indifference curve. So the rational consumer will find his optimum point here. And at this point, the consumer is consuming OP units of Y and 0 units of X. In this diagram, the consumer is in equilibrium at point P, where he is consuming OP units of Y and 0 units of X. That means the consumer is spending all his money income on commodity Y. This is the corner solution. Now, when a consumer spends his money income only on one commodity instead of two commodities, firstly, maybe the consumer is unable to purchase that commodity because that commodity is too expensive for him. Secondly, the consumer is not willing to purchase that commodity, whatever be the reason. Maybe he has some very bad past experience from consuming that commodity, so he is not willing to purchase that commodity. And thirdly, when two goods are perfect substitute to one another, then the consumer can make his mind to purchase that commodity which is relatively cheaper, because both the goods give the consumer same utilities, right? Now consider the slopes of budget line and the indifference curve. Here you see slope of budget line is more than slope of IC. This is the slope of the budget line. Right? And this is the slope of IC3. Now what is slope of budget line? This is Px by Py. So Px by Py is more than MRS XY, that is MUX by MUY. This means MUX by MUY is less than Px by Py. So the utility the consumer is deriving from consuming X is relatively lower than the utility the consumer derives by purchasing Y. So there is no reason why the consumer will purchase any of X, because X and Y give same utility to the consumer, Whereas price of X is relatively higher to price of Y, and marginal utility of X is less than marginal utility of Y. So there is no reason of purchasing any unit of X. The consumer will consume only Y. So when this happens, the consumer purchases only Y and none of X. On the other hand, consider figure 2. Here you see slope of budget line is less than slope of IC. The consumer reaches the maximum indifference curve. This is say IC3, this is IC2, and this is IC1, and BL is the budget line. With the same budget line, the consumer can reach the highest possible indifference curve IC3. So naturally the consumer will not find the equilibrium point at point B, because he can shift to IC2. Here also the consumer will not find his equilibrium, as with the same budget line BL, the consumer can move to higher indifference curve IC3, and the budget line meets IC3 at point L. This means the highest possible indifference curve reachable by the budget line of the consumer is IC3. So the consumer finds his equilibrium point on IC3 at the positive intercept of X-axis. Here the consumer purchases only X and 0 of Y. Only X, how many units? OL units, and 0 units of Y. Here slope of budget line is less than slope of IC. This means Px by Py is less than MRS XY, which is MUX by divided by MUY. So the ratio of marginal utility of X and marginal utility of Y is more than the price ratio of X and Y. That means here price of X is relatively cheaper compared to price of Y, and since the goods are perfect substitute of one another, then there is no reason why the consumer will purchase any unit of Y. So he will be in equilibrium at point L by consuming only OL units of X and 0 units of Y. So when this happens, that is slope of the budget line is less than slope of the indifference curve, the consumer purchases only X, and when slope of budget line is more than the slope of indifference curve, the consumer purchases only Y. That is, here OP units of Y, 0 units of X, here OL units of Y, and 0 units of OL units of X, OL units of X and 0 units of Y. These are the corner solutions. Right? These are the corner solutions for straight line indifference curve. Now we will learn how the consumer reaches the optimum point or the equilibrium point when the indifference curve is right angled one. So let me erase this part. Yeah. Right. I'm erasing this part. Here we will learn how the consumer maximizes his satisfaction when the indifference curve is right angled one. This is IC1 and this is IC2. On x-axis we measure quantity of x and on y-axis we measure quantity of y. Now let it be the budget line. Say this is point P. OX1, OY1. The consumer is in equilibrium at point P by consuming OX1 units of X and OY units of Y. Now what is right angle indifference curve? When two goods are complementary to each other, then the indifference curve becomes right angled one. Complementary means when the two goods are used in a fixed proportion to make a single commodity. Say for example, in making tea leaves, milk and sugar are mixed in a fixed proportion. Now you see, this is the point of equilibrium when BL is the budget line, IC1 is the indifference curve. If income of the consumer increases, the consumer moves to higher indifference curve IC2. When income of the consumer, money income of the consumer increases without any change in the prices of the commodities, line will be parallel to original one. Say this is PL, PL1. This is VL, this is PL1. Here, the consumer is in equilibrium, say at point R, where he is consuming OX2 units of X and OY2 units of Y. Now at point P, the ratio of consumption is OX1 by OY1, the ratio of consumption of X and Y. This is at point P. And at point Q, the ratio of consumption is OX2 by OY2. Here it is OX2 by OY2. Now OX1 by OY1 is exactly equal to OX2 by OY2. That is fixed proportion. The proportion is said to remain fixed irrespective of changes in money income or changes in relative price ratio. That means if there is change in relative price ratio, still the consumer can live at point R, because X and Y are complementary goods and they are to be consumed in fixed proportion irrespective of the money income of the consumer, irrespective of the relative prices. So this is also corner solution when the indifference curve is right angled one. Okay? Yeah. So this is all about corner solution when the indifference curve is straight line and when the indifference curve is right angled one. This is separate from interior solution where the point of equilibrium or point of optimum satisfaction is arrived at in between X and Y axis, whereas in case of corner solution the point of equilibrium is arrived at a corner. In case of straight line indifference curves, the point arises on the positive intercept of either X axis or Y axis depending upon the price ratio. And in case of complementary goods, the corner solution is arrived at the point of tangency between the budget line and the right angle indifference curve. This is a corner. That is the corner of indifference curve. Okay. So this is all about corner solution. In another video, we have learned corner solution when the indifference curve is convex and when the indifference curve is concave. And in this video, we have learned the corner solution when the indifference curve is straight line and when the indifference curve is right angled. Okay. This is enough for this video. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please be in touch. Please do subscribe our channel. Please click the like button. We will get motivated and we will send more meaningful, more useful and more purpose specific videos. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for watching this video. Goodbye. Stay well.